Hi, it's Arnott here once again, and the video that I'm doing today is we're going to use this image to create a logo, and it's actually very similar to the logo that I use myself. And this is the way that I went about creating it. What we're going to be using is we're going to make a selection of this mouse and the wheat, and we're going to be using channels to do that. So a way of selecting it, and this works when you've got a nice plain background that's lighter than the foreground. So it doesn't work for everything. It would work well for a tree, say, with the sky behind, or something similar like that, or a shot that you've created in a studio where you've put a background on there, a light background. So if you want to do something like this, that's a way of actually doing that. You can anything basically that will give you a nice silhouette and put it against the background, and using this method to select it is really very accurate and quite good. The best way, really. So let's go about creating this emblem. So first thing, I'm going to go to the layers. I'm going to right click on the background layer and duplicate it. Okay, so I'm not worried about the background whatsoever. What I'm trying to say is I'm trying to make a selection of the mouse and the actual wheat. I'm not worried about this image, anything but the mouse. The background doesn't matter at all. So to make things easier to make a selection, I'm just going to use a white brush, and where it's dark in the corners and whatever, make sure this is on normal and 100%, and use a hard brush, not a soft brush. And make sure you got white, not black. There we go. And I'm just going to paint, nothing fancy, just over these dark areas in the corners. And it just makes it quicker and easier to do. There's a smaller brush there. That is quite dark along there, so I'll try to get it a little bit closer. It doesn't matter too much, we'll sort that out later. We're just getting rid of all, as much as we can, without, being sort of an artist and trying to get close to the mouse. We'll just do a little bit. That'll do. Okay, so let's double click the hand tool. That's fine, that'll do. So now what I want to do is to go to the channels. So the channel button on the right hand side looks like 3 circles, and you can also get that by going to Window, Channels, doing it that way. So that brings up the channels. That's 2 different methods. Now what we're looking at is one of these channels. So we've got RGB, which is all the channels combined together to give us this colour image. We've got the information of the red channel, the information of the green channel by clicking on these, and the information on the blue channel. And what we're looking for is the one with the strongest contrast, and obviously you can see by clicking on these, the one with the strongest contrast is the blue. So that's the one we're going to use. And what I want to do now is to duplicate this. So I'm going to right click, duplicate layer, click on OK, and now we've got, I'm going to hide that one, click on this one and hide that one. If you see that red, it's simply because both of these are selected, so I'm going to click the eye and make sure I'm just on this blue copy. And what I'm going to do with that is to adjust the levels. So to adjust the levels, there's a shortcut for this. And on the Mac it's Control L, and on Windows Control L, and on the Mac it's Command and L. So I'm pressing Command L on my Mac, and what we want to do with it, we're creating a mask, so black and white. Now we are working in reverse. Obviously the mouse should be white, so that doesn't matter whatsoever. we're doing it in reverse, and then we'll swap it over, so we change the colours over. But we want whites to be whiter and the blacks to be darker. So I'm dragging up the right hand tab there to make it lighter. And I'm going to bring down the shadows, so by using the middle slider. Now, if you was doing this and you wanted to select the mouse as such, you probably want to get it quite dark. You can use other techniques to get rid of those, but I want a little bit of detail coming through. I'm going to bring the black slider down, that will make it darker. Bring this up just a little bit. Now there's areas that I'm not getting, that doesn't matter. But that's roughly what I want. So if you look at that, and then we're going to neaten up these other areas. So I'll click on OK. And then I'm going to use the brush. And what I'm going to do with this, I'm going to select a hard brush, so make sure the hardness is up to 100%. So you click there for that to select the hardness. And we're going to change the layer mode to overlay. And we make sure that we've got a white brush there. What I'm going to do is to go over these weak areas, clean these up. They're getting too close to the mouse to start with. But you can see when I do get close, it's not eating into those areas too much. I'm going to bring the opacity down now. Let's go to about 40%, and that just means I can be a little bit less careful. And it will just delete the weak areas. There we go. I'm just doing that bit there because I want that little bit of fur to come through. Now, you wouldn't do that if you wanted to, make a selection and put something behind it. This is just to create this emblem. So you'll see what I mean when we finish it. But I want a bit of detail just there to put a bit of fur in there. There's a little detail on the stem, but I probably want to get rid. I'm going to use the paintbrush. I'm going to change this back to normal. I'm going to use a small brush. And I'm going to paint in some of the areas that I want. I actually want the opacity to be all the way up. So some of this area I don't want. What I do want rather, this is what I want to keep, what's in black at the moment. I don't need to get rid of all of it because I want a little bit of this sort of texture coming through. I'll just press the pen tool, there we go, let's just this area I want. I'm just painting out any area that I want to keep in that's not coming up at the moment. Doesn't matter if you haven't got all of it. This area where it's sort of grey, I want to keep that in. Probably want a little bit more on this stem. Now I've clicked there, and what I'm going to do is hold down the shift key and go down the stem and click once, and that will draw a straight line. So with the shift key down, you do one click, hold down the shift key, click again, and you'll get a straight line. So it just helps get your selections when you want to fill something in like that. We need a little bit more on here, so I'm going to paint in this area. That's not too bad now, it's looking okay. So that's what you want, something similar to that. Probably this area. There we are, that'll do. And then we go to our channels. And what I do is, on a PC, you hold down the control key. On a Mac, it's the command key, and we click. And what that does, it then creates a selection. Now, the selection that we've got is actually the wrong way around. It's selecting all the white area. We wanted to select the black area. So what we do is go to Select, Inverse, and now we've got the black area selected. And we're going to use that to create a mask. So we go to our layers, we click on our layer there, and then we just click on the Add Mask button there. And it'll look wrong when I do this, and I'll show you why after. But when I click there, we've got it all back, and that's just simply because the background's showing. So take the eye off the background, and we have now got this lovely selection. Now it is transparent in some areas because that's what I want. And also if I look here, I did actually draw in a bit of area that I shouldn't have done. So I'm going to go to the mask again, click on the mask, and I'm on black, and use the paintbrush. I'm just going to paint out this area. Now, it will probably help to have a slightly softer brush when you do this. So I'm going to take the hardness down, and that will just create a nicer diffused edge rather than something that's too sharp. There we go, and just this little bit here. That's okay, we've lost a bit there, which we should have, so I'll swap to white. So if you need something to come back, you click on white and you paint. And if you want to get rid, you click on black. That's looking fine now, I think we're okay there. There we go. I'm just going to click one white. Let's use a big brush now. Use a brush. Making sure we're on normal for the mode. And making sure we've got a hard brush again. Just make sure I'm on the mask. I want a black brush, sorry. And I'm just going to click with a black brush and just go over these big areas to try and eliminate any slight areas that we've got. And I can actually see it's hard to see, but there are areas there just very half transparent. This is just cleaning it all up. I'm getting too close to the selection. And if I did need to get close to the selection, I can again change it to overlay and take the opacity down. It's just a little bit here that I'm concerned with. It's just around this area and probably around there. So I'm going to change it to overlay. Let's go to overlay. I'm going to take the opacity down quite low. Just go to 21. I'm just going to And you can physically see that it's getting rid of some areas around there. Okay, that's looking better. I'll just do the same in these areas. Just to tidy it up. There we go. Double click the hand tool, so you see it all. And there we've got our selection. So now what I'm going to do is to create a new layer above our selection. And I'll click on the mask below. What I'm going to do is to drag this onto there, but if I do that, you'll see it does that. Yeah. What I want to do, I want to drag it and copy it, and to do that, I can hold down the Alt or the Option key, depending on whether you've got a Mac or a PC, and drag it, and it copies the mask onto this layer. Now what that means is I can now get a brush, because that's what I want to do. I want to paint on this area. So I'm going to change the colour. I want like an orange colour, orangey brown colour, something like that, like a yellowy, just going into the oranges. Click on OK. Get my paintbrush, and when I paint, I'm going to be fussy because it's only going to paint, and this mask will hide anywhere where I go over the edge. So you'll see what I mean when I do that. Control Z, I'm on the wrong one. So I need to click there now on the top layer, not on the mask, on the layer. Make sure that you're in normal mode. Let me just use a big paintbrush and paint it all in. Make sure you haven't missed anywhere. And then I'm going to duplicate this layer. Right click, duplicate layer. I'm going to use a darker version of this colour. So I'm going to click down here somewhere, get this darker brown, click on OK. And I'm going to do this on the layer below the top layer. So I'm going to hide that layer, click on the eye and click on the one below. That's simply so I can see what I'm doing. And I paint over this. Like that. So covered all those areas, and then I'll bring the other one back like that. Now what I'm going to do with these, I'm going to click, make sure I'm still clicked on this one. What I'm going to do with that is click on the Move tool, and I'm just going to use the arrow keys on the keyboard rather than drag it. I just want to bring it over to the right a bit and down a little bit, so you can use the arrow key, and you just see it's giving it that 3D effect. Okay, so when we've got that, I want to merge this layer down to this one. So before I do that, I'm going to apply the masks. So I'm going to click on this one and click on the mask and click on Apply Layer Mask and click on this one below and do the same again. That's for a reason, because when I merge them together, it'll say, do you want to use a mask, and it will mask out what we've just done. So it's important to do that. Then on the top layer, right click and merge it down, and then we've got everything on these single layer. We've got both those colours, and we've just done that to create this little 3D effect. Now I'm going to take the opacity down on this layer just a little bit so I can see the image coming through just a little bit like that. So it makes it look very arty. I always think of an old cereal packet. It's like that effect. And then I'm going to merge that down. And it says, do you want to preserve or apply? Well, I want to apply that. I don't want to preserve it because it'll clip off some of these areas. So I'll click on Apply, and now we've got the image that we want. I'm going to resize this from the corner, click on the move tool. You can actually do it anywhere. If you've got the latest version of Photoshop, it will maintain the perspective. On older versions, if you don't use the corner and hold down the shift key, it will distort. So on the older versions it sort of does this. So on the new version you don't have to hold down the shift key. Okay, so it depends on what version of Photoshop you've got. So I've got that. I'm resizing it, putting it over to the left. Now I want to duplicate this layer. So I'm going to right click, duplicate the layer, click on OK, and then I'm going to go to Edit, Transform, and we want to flip it horizontally. And then I'm going to hold down the Shift key on the keyboard, keep it down, and move this up. Now the reason I'm holding the Shift key down, it stops it from moving up and down. It will only move. You see, if I move this mouse, it's still locked. It's not going anywhere. So I'm going to put that there. And then I'm going to merge that down. And we've now got that. Okay, we don't need this background layer now. I'm going to click on that and delete it. So I'm going to press the backspace key on that layer. And we're just left with our emblem. And then what you could do is you could, what I've done, I've got an emblem that I created from scratch for my name on there. And I put that on in between the two mice, but you could just use a font. So I'm going to use a font and just see what we've got. Don't know what to use. Don't want something too thin. It's nice we've got something a little bit thicker. So I'll try this Market Pro. Click there. I'll make it larger. Doesn't matter too much about the size, but I just want to be able to see what I'm doing. Now what I'm going to do is click on this colour icon there and then click on the mouse. Click on OK, and that gives me the same colour. Type in your text. Click to commit, and then we click on the move tool and just resize that to where we want it. So what I'll do as an example, and you can see that when I move it on the new version of Photoshop, it tells you when it's in the center, which is nice. You get that line up here, tells you it's dead center. Okay, bring it down a bit, bring it to there. Now what I'm going to do, when you're happy with that, I'm going to right click on the text and rasterize the type. And that means it's now a bitmap instead of a vector text image. It's a bitmap image. And then I'm going to merge that down to the background copy, and there, got it all on one. And then I'm going to put an effect on that. I'm going to click on the effects tool, click on drop shadow, and it looks nice as it is because it's got the last effect that I use, but be very careful. If you've got distance and you've got the spread up and size, you can get all this nastiness going on. So the size can be all the way to the left, the spread can be all the way to the left, and just use the distance to get a slight shadow. I just want something very slight, and then click on OK. And when you're happy with it, we go to the layers and we right click on the layer and we click on rasterize layer style. And it's a good idea to do that. It just converts the shadow from being an effect to actually being part of the image. So it's all as one as such, because if you don't do that and you use the PSD file and you then resize the image at any time. The shutter stops the same size, and it can look strange when you've resized. Okay, so there is our completed logo. Using channels to make the selections, so I hope that helps, and you can practice that with your own images. Remember, channels works well when you've got that contrast where you've got something dark against something light, or vice versa. So all the best from me. That's the end of the lesson.